stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.
Welcome back to We Are Mighty. How y'all doing? How's the last couple of weeks been for you? What'd you think of that last episode? Let me just tell you, that one was a little difficult for me. And my week after that was a little difficult, quite emotional. I don't know. Lately, my emotions are up and down, but I'm making it. I'm living day by day, dealing with this grief, dealing with this life. You know, I saw a video where a lady was saying she talked to a friend of hers who had lost their father, I believe it was, and the person said that they were trying to just get back to the way they were, to get back to themselves. And the advice that the friend gave her was, that's your problem. That's never going to happen. You can't get back to the way you were because the person that you're trying to get back to had their father and you no longer do. And that really resonated with me because that's what I've been saying. Like, I'm just trying to get back to how I used to be. I'm trying to get back to the person I was before this tragedy. But the person I was before this tragedy still had my son. And so now I have to navigate life without him physically with me. Of course, I feel he's spiritually with me. He's always with me. He's a part of me. But I have to accept the fact that my life has completely changed and things will never be the same. I can never go back to who I was because I'm no longer that person. I'm still the Eminem mom. I still gave birth to, my two boys, but one of them was taken from me. And I can't say it's easy to accept that. I don't think that would be easy for anyone. But in trying to live day by day, in trying to be as happy as I can, and that's still a big problem for me. I still feel so much guilt for trying to be happy or trying to enjoy life as I can right now because my son's not here. And people keep saying, no, you're not leaving him behind. And you know that he would definitely want you to enjoy your life. And I know that, but it's difficult. And so I wonder, because there's always somebody telling me, the 5 stages of grief are real and you have to go through them and you're going to have to deal with it. So I decided to look up what the 5 stages of grief were because I know what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through. And are these 5 stages, are they, exact? Is that really what I'm going through or what I'm feeling or how I'm tackling these things? And it was interesting. I looked them up, and apparently was a young lady, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I may have said her name wrong. I apologize. She had written a book on death and dying, and she came up with the 5 stages of grief. And the general consensus, apparently, is the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And no, it's not in any particular order, but those are the stages that you can expect to go through, I suppose. But I feel like a couple of those stages, yes, I've dealt with or I'm dealing with. But I feel like there were other stages for me. And I think there's going to be other stages for other people based on what you are grieving, based on the magnitude of that grief, the incident that caused the grief. I think, yeah, it may be a little bit of a variation of those, but I don't necessarily know that that's my stages. First of all, denial. I can't say that I just denied, the fact of what happened to my son. The first thing for me, the first stage was shock. Complete shock. When my older son called me, I couldn't even formulate the thought to realize that I needed to get up and leave. My husband had to make me go. But even at the hospital, they assign you a chaplain. I can't tell you one word that man said. He was talking to me. I don't know what he said. I can barely tell you what the doctor said when he came in to let us know that my son didn't make it. I do remember a period of time where it was nothing. I was in shock. I know that I was worried, I was nervous, but at one point my body just went completely numb. There was no thoughts. I didn't really see what was going on. I knew there were people around me, but I was completely removed from the situation. And I don't know, maybe they'll say that that's kind of a denial thing, but I wasn't like, no, this isn't happening. I was saying, God, please don't let this happen. But it was more of a shock for me than a denial. And it took me a while to come out of that shock. Like I've said previously, I spent weeks just sitting in my living room under his picture, just in shock. I couldn't deny it. I mean, I saw my baby in a casket, so it was hard to deny the situation. It was more of unbelief. It was more of just, like I said, shock. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want anyone coming to talk to me, trying to comfort me. And yes, people did it, but it was just a state of shock. And I feel like I lost quite a few days because I was just going through, I can't even say going through the motions. I was off work. I wasn't going to church. I wasn't going anywhere. I sat on the couch. I may have went to my bedroom to go to sleep. I wasn't having a conversation with him at the time. I just really just sat there as the days went by, as the people came to the house and brought the food, and I didn't want to eat. I got so tired of people bringing chicken to my house. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is when people die that makes other people feel they need to take them chicken. I had to tell people to stop bringing chicken to my house because I was tired of it. And it was kind of cute. My uncle wanted to go get us some fried chicken, and I said, please don't bring any more fried chicken because we're tired of it. So he brought fried fish. I guess he stuck to my wishes. But yeah, and I literally started telling people, okay, bring salad, bring fruit. Don't bring any more fried foods to my house. You really don't have to bring food, but everybody wanted to, so I didn't want to, stop them from doing what they felt they needed to do. But I stopped that chicken because I still am tired of fried chicken. But anyway, I feel like it was more of a shock than a denial for me. Anger, yes. I am angry almost every day. I am angry at the situation. I'm angry at how it went down. I'm angry that my son didn't listen to me and go home. I'm angry that there are people out there who saw this happen who have not stepped up. And so the person who shot my son is still out there. That's enough to make you very angry. Very angry. Anger is a huge part of my life right now. And I am not, or I guess I should say, I was never an angry person. Do I still try to be positive? I do. But that's probably the stage of grief that is overcoming everything right now, is the anger. And I don't know what it will take to get rid of that at this point. I'm going through life. I'm going through my day. Yes, things happen where I laugh. Things happen where I'm joking like I always was. My older son and I, we still have our laughter throughout the day. But in the back of my mind, I'm still angry. My brother is a Bellator MMA fighter. And the day that this podcast drops, he'll be fighting for the light heavyweight championship. Go Corey, bring us back that W. You got it. But all I keep thinking about is when he was wrestling in college and high school. His shadow was my son Miles. Miles was everywhere with Corey. And they all called him Mighty. They knew that nickname. And, little Mighty right there with Uncle Corey. And he's been to every fight that we could get to that was in the United States. And he's not going to see his uncle fighting for this championship, which I believe he's going to win. So I don't even know how I'm going to feel watching my brothers fight. I was his first boxing coach. Everything hits me in a completely different way now. And so I get nervous. I'm so emotional about everything. And I've never been an overly emotional person. Now it's like fear. I'm afraid the worst case scenario will happen in everything. I'm afraid for someone to go a long distance. I don't want them to have an accident. And it's weird. I've read that death brings that out of you, where you will start to see every situation as what could possibly go wrong. And I really hate thinking that. I hate feeling that way. And again, with grief, it's not just with the loss of a loved one. One of the things they were saying about denial, if it's a situation where you lost a job, you may think that your boss will call you and say, "Oh, I made a mistake." And that's a part of the denial stage. I get it. Some things, the way they hit you, it's just hard to believe. It's hard to accept. So I get the denial in that sense. How do you get past it? I can't tell you, and nobody else can. Facing the facts. But that doesn't mean it won't come up again. And that's one thing that I do agree with. In every blog, every book that I've seen related to the stages of grief is that it's not just going to be you hit this stage, you hit this stage, you hit this stage. You may hit the stage, the denial stage, go to the anger stage, and then go back to denial. Or go to shock. I feel like there's more than 5 stages of grief. And if it's only 5, I think it's a different 5 for every person, because everybody handles it differently. However you handle it, you got to handle it. I don't want to, I don't think anybody ever wants to handle grief. But when it's thrown at you, what do? Shut down? And there are some people who do that. That may not be the healthiest response, because you're going to have to deal with it at some point, and shutting down, that could be detrimental to your health. So I try not to do that, although I guess that's what the shock did to me in the beginning. I completely shut down. And I had to talk myself out of it. I've had to talk myself out of a lot of things. Now, I don't know if I would call it bargaining, but I know that I have several times asked God to rewind the clock. Just take me back to July 15th, 2023. Just take me back. Even if you take me back to 11:58, right before we left that bowling alley, so I can do something. I can make him go home, take him home, follow him to make sure he goes there. Now, of course, I know that can't happen. And it's hard because I also know God can do anything but fail. So, more so than bargaining, I think it's begging. I'm just begging to have my son back. I'm begging to go back to the happier times when he was here. I'm begging for another second, another chance to see those dimples when he smiles. Another goofy moment with him. Another moment when he calls me and says, "Mama, give me a word," and spits a freestyle over the phone. Another accomplishment at his job. A chance for him to have a child. A chance for him to get married. I won't see those things. And I know I've said this before, but it doesn't change it. That's for a mother to realize that there's so many milestones that my son wasn't able to hit, and I'm never going to see those things for him. And it makes me worry about my other kids. Am I going to get to these milestones with them? Am I going to do I need to rush them into having kids? No. Do I need to rush them into getting married so I could be there? No, that's selfish. But how do I continue? Because death is an unknown. We don't know when it's going to hit someone. I don't know when it's going to hit me. I hope I live to be old and gray. I hope my kids live to be old and gray. I pray. My prayer has always been, let me live to see grandchildren. Let me live to see great-grandchildren. My grandmother died when I was like 7. So she didn't get to see, my kids. So it just becomes a fear. So I would think that would be something that they would say is a stage of grief. Fear. You fear what's going to happen next. You fear the unknown. You fear when it's your time or the time for someone else who's close to you. They say it happens in threes. And in this situation, I did have 3 people close to me pretty much back to back die. And I've never had to even deal with death on this scale. So to have that happen, that also had me afraid. My son died, and my good friend and sister, prayer partner, she was sick. She came to his funeral. I was surprised because she was sick, but she had turned a corner, and her cancer was clearing up, and she was doing better. And all of a sudden, literally just a couple weeks after my son, she took a turn for the worst. Now that situation, at least I was able to say my goodbyes. I was able to prepare myself somewhat. Now it was difficult because I had just lost my son, so the depression was real already. But to have her go right after him, And then I think maybe a month later, a close friend of our family, a friend of my parents, 3 right in a row. And they were 3 devastating blows, to the point where I said, I can't do any more funerals. I had a friend who lost a parent. I couldn't go to her parents' funeral. It was just so difficult. And there was one young lady who had lost her daughter, who was a year older than my son, I think, yeah. And I wanted to be there to offer my condolences. And I was with a group of people, a group of singers that I, have sang in different places with. And we sang at her daughter's funeral. That wasn't a good decision. It wasn't a good decision. I could barely make it through that funeral. Just hearing, people giving her their condolences. It was flashbacks. It was so difficult. But I was there for her. Once I got home, I was a complete mess. But I was there. I try to still support people. I try to put my pain, my anger, my depression, I try to put that aside when people need me. And I think that's part of the reason that I do this podcast, because I know that there are people who aren't going through the cookie cutter stages of grief who may need to hear this, who may need to see someone who, although I'm strong, it's killing me. Although I'm there for everybody else, I'm still on the inside screaming. I'm still on the inside saying, why my baby? And it's just what I have to go through. Go through it however you need to go through it. If you lost a job, it's easy to say, that wasn't the job for you. You'll find something better. Something else will come along. When one door closes, another one opens. God has something more in store for you. Not that that's not something to believe, but it's different when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one. You can't say, oh, that baby's gone. God's going to give you another one. I'm damn near 50. That ain't happening. It's the stages are similar, but it's different. But we still gonna get through this together. You may have lost a home. You may have been foreclosed. The economy is horrible right now. You may not want to hear, oh, there's a better house for you, because that may have been your dream home. Don't let go of your dreams. There may be another home out there for you. There may be another home that makes you happier. But again, can't say that when you've lost a loved one. There's going to be another son that makes you happier. You can't say that. Just like the lady who told me, oh, he's with God now, let him go. I still get angry over that. Sorry. I don't know if you saw that on my face, but we still have to deal with it. We still have to deal with the grief as it comes. And I know, and I fear, and I worry, it's not going to stop with my son. That is one of my biggest fears right now. Who's next? When's it coming next? If my phone rings anytime after 10 p.m., I don't even say hello. What's wrong? What happened? And that's horrible. It's horrible. Crazy thing is, I used to be that way with Miles. If he would call me at a certain time of night, I'd answer the phone and say, what's wrong? And he'd be like, Mom, why do you always think something's wrong when I call you? 7 or 8 times out of 10 it was, but still. He hated that I would answer the phone and say what's wrong. But now, more than ever, my phone rings. And it doesn't even have to be after hours. My phone doesn't ring a whole lot. So when it does, I'm nervous. My oldest son is a truck driver. He calls me sometimes when he's out on the road. If I miss his call and I call him back and he doesn't answer, I freak out. Now, of course, he may be driving and can't answer at that time. That's not the first thought that enters my mind. He could be anywhere that he couldn't answer at that time. It's not right after he just called me. So anything could be happening. But what do I think? He's not answering. What's wrong? And I have to stop myself from calling him back to back because I have such a fear now that if he doesn't answer the phone, something's wrong. Something's happened. If I can't get through to my husband right away, I'm worried. What happened? Is he okay? Can I just say, I freaking hate it. And it took everything in me to say freaking just then. I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of this paranoia. Because that's what it is. It is paranoia. I didn't see that in one of the stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Where's the paranoia? Because that's what's hitting me. Shock, paranoia. Yeah, I'll give you anger. I'm not bargaining with anybody. There's nobody I can bargain with. I know that. Depression, I'm trying my best to fight, but it hits me. My point is, there's no cookie cutter way to deal with it. There's no cookie cutter way. I actually have a room that I've designated the scream room because there are just times when I can't say anything. I can't articulate it. I can't grab a self-help book. I can't call anybody who will understand it. I can't get to the point where anyone or anything can comfort me. And I just go to that room and scream. And I tell my husband, don't ask me what it's about. Just let me go, get that out, regroup, and go on with my day. Is that healthy? I don't know. But it helps me to get rid of the rage and the what I'm feeling at that time that feels like it's just bubbling up in me and there's nothing else that I can do except for scream. And instead of standing in front of random people or, we have a business, being in front of customers or even being at home in front of my husband and sons, I have to just take a minute and go to that room and scream. And it actually feels good afterwards for a little while. You may want to try it. I'm just saying. Deal with it the way that you can deal with it. One of the big things now are those rage rooms where you can break stuff and stomp on things. I hear it's very therapeutic. I might have to do that. I'm afraid I'm going to tear them people's building up. So maybe I'll create my own and then I won't feel so bad because the rage that is inside me right now, I don't know that it can be contained when I have the chance to actually release it. I don't know who needed to hear this. I never know who needs to hear it. I'm just telling you how I feel, what's on my mind, what I'm going through in this new life that's been thrown at me. We're going to get through it. Like I always say, we definitely will. And all you do, be true to yourself, be strong, and be mighty. We're here every other Friday. You can catch us on Spotify, on YouTube. You can listen or you can watch us. I try my best to keep my composure. But trust me, behind this smile is a mother going through a whole lot. Thanks for tuning in. I love you. I'll see you next time.
They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.